now for a broader discussion on the voter registration campaign and what the Electoral Commission could still do before the election date is declared. We're now joined by James Aphane, the Commission's Manager for Electoral Operations. James, thank you so much for joining us on Newzroom Afrika this evening. Now, it's been a busy day. We have already reached a milestone in having 27 million voters registered to vote so far. Has that momentum kept going from what you can tell from just today?
Good evening, Masa, and good evening to the viewers. Yes, absolutely. We have seen a lot of interest in the early hours. When we started, we had 304,000. As I speak to you now, the interest activity, 731,000 people that actually heeded our call so far. And we also have people that actually did register or check their details online. Earlier in the day, it was 20,000. Currently, is 48,000. So there is really an interest, and the numbers are going up.
What do you attribute this interest to and the increase in the numbers that we're seeing in this year's general elections when you compare it to previous general elections?
There is a number of factors, Masa. One of which is the IEC's outreach campaigns. You know, I think we managed to reach a whole lot of people out there. And now that we have built that momentum, political parties, civil society, members of the public are also heeding the call and are really taking their rights seriously and therefore registering in this election. And the other fact to mention here is we have seen for the first time in this election compared to the previous national and provincial election, provided people an opportunity to register online. And we're seeing the numbers growing up. People are really taking up that opportunity to register online.
So, you know, that use of technology and people being able to go online has really improved these numbers, you say. Now, talking about the registration, the traditional registration centers, did you experience any issues at any of your 23,000 stations across the country?
Well, we did not experience operational issues on our side. We're ready with our facilities and everything else. There may have been incidences of inclement weather, and which might have, you know, disturbed the electoral process, the registration process in particular. But overall, we are happy with the outcome, and we like to really thank South Africans for showing such a very huge, enthusiastic participation.
And we can appreciate that, but unfortunately, you know, these things don't go without their flaws most of the time, and not necessarily from the IEC side, but just necessarily external factors. I mean, looking at earlier today, one of our Newzroom Afrika reporters was in one of the informal settlements in Cape Town where community leaders were allegedly staging some sort of a stay away and saying, look, we won't disrupt the IEC officials, we won't intimidate them, but we're encouraging our community members to just stay away and not vote or register.
Well, yes, it's a sad, you know, occurrence, and we will really like to call South Africans to encourage people to be part of this big celebration, I call it, since 1994. So we need to remember that each and everyone has a right. You know, by saying people stay away, the risk of it is that come election day, these people, if they change their mind, they won't be on the voters' roll. So we encourage people as we open again our voting stations tomorrow to really put issues for now aside. I'm not saying they're not important, but the most important thing currently is to make sure that each and every one of us has the opportunity to exercise our rights. And the first right starts with registration. And then people can later on make their own decisions whether they want to, you know, do other activities. But we want to call upon people to register and later on to also come and vote in big numbers.
And speaking, just coming off that back, James, you know, so when we do see this high registration turnout, does it always translate to a high voter turnout typically? Will we see these 29 million actually going to the polls?
Certainly, it's not always the case, but there is a parallel. It's not a one-to-one relationship, but certainly if you see a lot of people having an interest in an election, chances are they will definitely come in bigger numbers, but I do not think we will be having 100% turnout. It will be the first in the world, actually. But I expect the South Africans to this time around come in big numbers like they did in 1994. In other elections as well, they actually did come in numbers. But in this election, I think they will surpass all the other elections and try to beat 1994. As you can imagine, the queues that we've had, those long snake type queues, yes. So that's what we're expecting, and we are ready as the IEC. We always make sure that we can give each and every customer a very good customer experience. So come to our voting stations tomorrow, and as you are alluding now, we also want these people to come back and participate in the actual voting process.
And as you mentioned earlier, James, we cannot foresee and control the, incidents that happen in individual communities. But, it is the IEC CEO's call. Saima Mabolo has said that it's IEC's aim to ensure that every one of the South African 43 million eligible voters does register to vote. Now, it kind of seems like wishful thinking when such incidents are bound to occur, right?
Yes, well, it is actually a very good wish for the CEO to do that and for all of us. But let's make it a reality then. I mean, it is not impossible. We're all human beings and we all have issues. But let's, for now, provide an opportunity for other life events to occur. And this time around, it's about registration, voter registration. And there will be another day wherein those issues can be vented out. So for now, let's register and come voting. And look, the reason why there is an election is so that you have an opportunity to place people that you prefer in power. So if you prevent other people now to be able to exercise that right, you are actually, not being a very good citizen. So let's all be good citizens and respect each other's rights.
And as they say, James, numbers don't lie. And to quote your numbers from today, I mean, some 731,000 people registering or checking if they're registered to vote just today alone. Are you able to attribute who comprised that number of people in terms of the youth? How much of a difference is that making? Are they coming through in their numbers going to register to vote?
I didn't do a deep dive yet. I only have the high-level figures, and the Commission will definitely issue a statement and break down the numbers. But what I can say at this stage is that on our online platform, the 48,000 that I've mentioned, the majority of these are new registrations, 36%. And remember, if we talk online, we talk a facility wherein people that are using it will be using smart devices such as your tablet or cell phone. So I expect these new registrations that I see at 36% of the 48,000 being young people. So, but as I say, the Commission will issue out a statement with more details in terms of the breakdown in numbers.
Yeah, I think I was being a little really hopeful there and hoping that you would have that detail. Of course, it's still early days. We just kicked that off today, and there's still tomorrow to look at. I know the IEC will come back with a very in-depth view of what we saw this weekend. But just to be clear, James, there are political parties who are dubbing it the final voter registration weekend. Can we call it that?
In terms of physical visit to our voting stations, yes. But registration is continuous. It never stops. The reason we're cautioning people is the fact that registration puts your name on a voter's roll for a particular election. So this election coming up is the 2024 national and provincial elections. So if you don't put your name on the voter's roll now, like in other words, if you don't visit voting stations tomorrow and you cannot do it online, your name will not be in the voters' roll for 2024. So yes, it is the last opportunity to visit your voting station tomorrow, but you can certainly continue to register online. You can also visit our offices between 8 and 5, and the colleagues there will gladly assist you.
And before I let you go, James, for tomorrow as well, what would your message be to South Africans?
South Africans, this is a very big celebration. It's an invitation, but it's not an open-ended invitation. Because the president can tell us when the election will be, which we can still continue to register. But once he proclaims the voters' roll closes for this particular election, and you'll be left out in the celebration. So South Africans, please come out in your big numbers and let's head to those voting stations. If you can't, there's an alternative. We do it online, and we are ready to assist you.
Indeed, you do not want to be left behind. Thank you so much for joining us and for your time.